Welcome to The Art Confidential, the podcast where we dive into the parts of being a creative that usually stay off Instagram.
We're your hosts, Andreina and Jacqui. We're sitting down with artists, gallery owners, creative insiders, and each other for honest conversations about art, creativity, self-doubt, connection, and the real life that happens in between the making.
This isn't about perfection, and it's definitely not about romanticizing the hustle.
It's about creating a space where curiosity thrives, community matters, and we all grow together.
Let's go.
We have flipped things around a little bit. Today, I am going to be asking Andreina some deep questions so we get to know her a little bit better. We are talking about her journey from growing up in Venezuela to studying engineering and eventually building the creative life she has today. You grew up in Venezuela as the middle child in a pretty big extended family that was very woman heavy. What was that like?
Yeah, so we definitely had some male cousins, but they were the minority. I come from a long line of very strong women and surrounded by women. I am one of three girls in my family, and my parents were divorced. So even though we did spend a lot of time also with my dad when we were at home, it was just women. And being the middle child is definitely an interesting dynamic in a house full of women. My little sister came along when I was already like 8. So I really took on kind of like a motherly role with her. But I still very much had the typical middle child, persona in my house.
So with all of that, did you kind of feel responsible, like for keeping the peace or?
Oh, yes. Well, into adulthood, I thought my role in my family, I think we all have like roles that we play, whether, somebody told you that was your role or you simply assumed it. And I thought I was a peacemaker. So when I was little, I would always try to keep the peace. Sometimes I meant that I actually took fault for things I didn't do, just so that my older sister, wouldn't get in trouble. She would come to me and say, I actually ate that or I broke this thing. But if we say that we both did it, then mom is not going to get that upset. So, and I will be like, well, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh.
Even though I did it. Because I was like the good girl, the rule follower, and she was a little wild. She likes to say now that I am who I am today thanks to the lessons that she taught me when we were little.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I know, yeah. No, but it wasn't awesome when I was growing up. But yeah, it was an interesting dynamic, but we get along great now. I love having sisters.
So you had told me a while ago that they called you grumpy?
Yes.
I don't think of you as grumpy.
Yes. So I was like the grumpy one in the family. My sister was kind of like the performer and the funny one. And I was, for some reason, I was the grumpy one. People were scared to wake me up because apparently I was very grumpy. I don't think I was. I think I was very, I don't even know how to say it, like introspective. Like I would, and even happens to me today. Like if I'm concentrating on something, I kind of shut down everything else around me. And that can look like I'm being grumpy or like I don't want to engage, but it's really just I'm doing my thing, right? So that might be an episode, a later episode on why that happens to me. But growing up, I really thought, maybe I am the grumpy one. And I would try so hard to people please. And I carry that into adulthood. And it wasn't until like, probably early 40s that I started some therapy. And I was like, wait a second, I'm not grumpy. I love people and I love laughing and, and I kind of took that mask off and it was so liberating because, oh my gosh, growing up your whole life thinking you're the grumpy one is not fun. So, and I really don't think I'm grumpy.
That is not a word I would ever use to describe you at all.
I know, it's crazy.
In school, were you a good student or did you get in trouble or what was your...
Yeah, so, elementary through high school, I was a very good student. I did what I was supposed to do. I got good grades. I was really good at math and physics. I even would mentor some of my classmates, chemistry, physics, math. That was kind of like my thing. I struggled with everything that was reading or memorizing. Like math would be like a problem I could solve, and I got that. But everything else, where you had to memorize or read a book and like answer questions about the book, like that was not my thing. So, but yeah, up until high school, I was a very good student.
And this was All in Venezuela,
All in
right?
Venezuela. And I actually went to what we call back there a science-based school. So we did not have any art at all. After like fourth grade, I never saw a watercolor set or a pencil to paint color. There was no art options, for me after that.
Wow. So then how come you're such an amazing artist? How do you know how to draw? So, I mean, did you go to art school then?
No, I didn't. So I actually never considered art as an option or anything that wasn't like a traditional career. And I don't know if that was an expectation that my parents put on me, but I basically thought my choices were you become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, like very traditional big careers. And because I was good at math, engineering school just kind of felt very natural. So I became an industrial engineer mainly because we had a guy come in to give us a talk in high school, and he said, the beautiful thing about industrial engineering is you can work in a number of different fields. And I was like, oh, good, because I have no idea what I want to do. So this sounds like at least it will give me some options. So that's essentially how I picked it, not because I had a strong feeling about engineering one way or the other, but I was like, I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to be a doctor. So yeah, it was kind of process of elimination of the traditional careers.
Now, when did you come to the U.S.?
This is crazy. So I actually graduated high school and I wanted to learn English. And I told my dad, maybe I'll just go for a year. And my dad said, okay, let's find a place where you're not going to find Latin people. And he literally picked Manhattan, Kansas, of all places. This is like, if you look at a map and you drop a pin in the middle of this country, that's where Manhattan, Kansas is. They call it the Little Apple. Not the Big Apple.
I've never heard of this.
Yes. And I'm like, do they even have a mall? Like, what am I going to do there? Are there like chickens walking around? I was a little bit concerned, but I had just turned 17 in April and I left in August. And this is before email, phones, right? So imagine, like, my kids are going to be 17 this year, and I cannot imagine just sending them off and talking to them maybe once a week if we're lucky. I cannot imagine. So they thought it was okay because I was very responsible at the time. And they said, yeah, she'll do great. It was supposed to be for a year. And long story short, it became the rest of my life. I never went back to Venezuela after that.
And you were just by yourself. And did you know English or?
No, I didn't. I knew a little bit, right? So they did teach us some English at school, but it was not conversational. Like I couldn't hold a conversation. So they had like English as a second language options in the school in Kansas State University where I went. So I did that before I started actual engineering school.
Wow, that must have been really hard and scary. I mean,
yeah,
you were by yourself and not speaking the language and not knowing anybody.
So my dad left me with my stepmom. They dropped me off. And initially I was like, this is going to be great. And then they left. And within like 3 days, I said, this was a huge mistake. Like, what have I done? And I called him and they were already in Miami. And I was like, hey, change your plans. I don't want to be here. Like, can you come right back and pick me up? And he was like, oh, honey, no, sorry. You're just going to have to stay at least until December, right? Like the fall semester. And I was crying. I was like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. And he was like, yeah, so sorry. You figure it out. And eventually I did. And I ended up having a blast in college.
Were
I ended
you
up
a good student?
Yes and no. Initially, no. I was more concerned about partying. I hope my kids never listen to this. Than I was about studying, at least until like my junior year. I think it just, testing my independence, always being the good girl. It was kind of like liberating to just be on my own. So my dad thought I wasn't going to find Latin people. I found all the Latin people, of course. I had many, many Latin friends. I also had American friends. And, I still talk to most of them through the years. But I was just having fun. One time, and this is embarrassing, and again, I hope my kids never listen to this, but I was very proud because there was my name on a plaque, not in the engineering building, not at school, but at the bar that I frequented the most. So when my dad came to visit, I was like, Dad, I have to show you something. Look, my name is up. And my dad is like, oh my God, like, what have we done?
But you kept your grades up.
I graduated. It took me a little while. I think, once I got like to junior year, I was like, I really need to get my act together. And I did. And I ended up being a good student those last couple years. But it took me a while to find my way. But honestly, I have no regrets. I think it's part of growing up. I think I got it all out of my system after being the good girl and being under a microscope growing up to kind of just being on your own and figuring it out. So,
well, we'll work on that now that we're buds. We'll get in trouble. So you're in engineering, and then when did the creativity or when did the art start?
So it wasn't until I had kids, which was later on. I was already 30, I think, when my twins were born. And I don't know what it was in me, but once I had kids, I had this urge to create. And, I had twins. Most people with twins, let alone a newborn, right? But let alone newborn twins, don't have time for everything. But I just had this thirst to use my hands and create things. So every time they would take a nap, which wasn't very often, they were not big nappers, but I would use those 20 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever they gave me to do something. And I jumped around different creative hobbies through those early years, right? I did textiles, I did digital illustration, I did photography. I kind of jumped around different creative hobbies, but it was like this thirst, and I don't know what it was, right? Motherhood just changes you in funny ways, right? And you need different things. Yeah. So
the body changes, everything
changes.
Then if you weren't taking art school, then how do you make art so well? How'd you learn to draw and all of that?
So I had a friend of mine that she's still one of my best friends. She gave me, and she's also an engineer, which is kind of funny, and also has twins. She gave me a watercolor. Yes. She gave me a watercolor painting of our house as a Christmas gift. And I started bawling crying when I saw it because I was like, what, you made this? Like, you can paint? And I've known you all this time. And more importantly, are you allowed to paint as an adult? Like, isn't that what children do? I just found it like so crazy to me. Even though I had done other hobbies, they felt more like adult hobbies. But for some reason, painting just felt very childlike to me. Like So when she gave me this painting after I cried and realized, it was literally like a permission slip to say, you can do that too. So the very next day, I went to Michael's and I picked up a sketchbook, and that was it. I never went back to I have other hobbies, but I never went back as I have with painting. And that was over 10 years ago now. So.
And you were self-taught, completely self-taught.
Yes, I actually joined. We had, at the time I lived in Florida, and we had a little community, mostly seniors who go and take classes, right? I don't know what they're called, continuing education or something. And there was actually a watercolor class, and it was me and all my retired friends that were in their 70s, and at the time, again, I was younger. Oh my gosh, and I loved it so much. I had so much fun with those people, and they were all so supportive. And so I took that class, and after that, I said, I can go big. I think I want to go big. And I went and I got a 36 by 48 canvas. And
that's really big.
Yes. I painted a cow.
Anyway.
I know. But I don't know why the idea of painting big was more attracting to me than, staying small. And I painted a cow and I sold it. Like somebody wanted to buy it. Yes. And that just changed everything for me. I was like, oh, I can actually call myself an artist. Like somebody wants my art.
Well, I'm not surprised because I know your art. But so how did they even see your art? Was this before social media, or were you in a show, or what happened?
So actually, I had a little art account. Well, not art. I called it the Harmony Project, where I would post all my little things I would do before I started painting. And I posted about it. And
so that's Instagram back?
Yeah, on Instagram and Facebook. But, I didn't really have many followers. And this was another mom of twins in Florida. And she saw it and she's like, is it for sale? And I was like, I guess, yes. So anyway, she still has it and she loves it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And so then what was your first show, or like, how did you pivot? Like, go, okay, I can do this.
So actually, that same little community center, they had a show for the students every year, and I applied, and I painted a horse for that show. So that was kind of like my first show, but again, it was me and all my retiree friends. But I was very proud and very excited to be there. And then after that, I started calling myself an artist, and I believed it. I said, I'm an artist, and I started reaching out to galleries. I had no idea what I was doing. I really didn't. But I started reaching out. I started telling people I was an artist. I changed the name on my account. I would reach out to 3 galleries a day. And
whoa.
Yeah, hear nothing back, right? Because they were like, who? What? Like, who are you? And then some started saying yes. And I don't know, I started getting noticed. But I was definitely all over the place at that time, because when you're starting, you don't really know, right? You're kind of testing everything out. And I just went for everything, which ended up burning me out. But I had to do that to kind of learn, right? My own way.
So you've got young twins. Were you also working as an engineer at this time?
I was.
So, new mom, full-time engineer, and now an artist in galleries and shows.
Yeah.
And wow, that's incredible. I mean, at least now your twins could take care of themselves, I hope.
Oh, yes. Now they can drive. Oh, my gosh. I got so much time back on my day. It's amazing. But yeah, back then, and I think I've always kind of learn to, like we talked about it before, right? Like I'll just grab whatever time I have. And I think that's just what you do when you don't have it. When you don't have the luxury of time, I actually think you're more productive, right? Because you're not waiting for that, right? So you just take what you have when it comes, and you get really good at that. So
you didn't burn out or anything? You just
I burnt
kept
out.
Going? Oh, you did?
I burnt out. I had some bad experiences. I worked with some galleries that weren't great. I actually had one gallery owed me, I don't know, over $5,000 that I had to chase for years. Eventually, I had to threaten to call the police. It was really awful. And then I had other galleries that would return work to me, destroyed. I'm like, what is this, right? Like if it didn't sell. So I definitely got burnt out, and I got disappointed because I was like, this industry is really hard, right? And there was a period that I kind of slowed down because I was like, I can't keep doing this, right? And I really need to find the people that I really want to work with. And I started working, I call it, whether it's a hell yeah, it's a yes, otherwise it's a no. If you're not super sure and excited, then it's a no. And I started using that as my measurement to make these decisions, right? If I'm really super excited to work on whatever, this commission or this gallery or this online collective, then it was a yes. Otherwise, I would just turn it down. And it wasn't until I became really clear on that I actually started finding a rhythm that worked for me and, staying more true to myself, not painting what I thought somebody else wanted, right? Or not saying yes to everything. So that really helped.
So do you actually do commissions now, or do you just like paint what you want?
I don't
Not saying
do commissions.
You don't want them, but
no, I don't do commissions. I'll take a few. It really depends, right? Like if the customer is like, I just want something like this, but go for it, no colors, no. I might sometimes say yes, but I cannot do a commission where they're showing up with their paint swatch or their wallpaper and saying, you need to match this. It completely blocks me. And I did it before. There was one commission in particular that I worked on that literally blocked me from painting for like over 6 months. I could not, because I couldn't get this commission done. Then I couldn't do anything else because my creativity was shot. And that's when I decided I can't let somebody in my headspace, which is what happens in a commission. I need to just, do my own thing. So I stopped taking commissions, and it was a weight lifted off my shoulders.
Yeah, it sounds like you were more discerning, seeing like if it's a hell yes, and just being a little more choosy.
Yeah,
I like
for
that.
sure.
So you guys were in Florida then at this time. How did you pick Asheville? Like, how did you get to Asheville?
So we have a house about an hour and a half from Asheville that we bought when the boys were little, because this is funny. So we actually took a vacation with them to somebody else's house up north when they were 5 months old. And it was the worst vacation of my entire life. These kids didn't sleep. They were up at at 3 in the morning screaming. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, we're not traveling. We need to find our own thing where we can go and these kids can scream their heads off and nobody's going to look at us like, So we very quickly decided that that's what we wanted to do. And we found this house and, it was perfect because we would go every summer and I could work from there for like 8 weeks in the summer. So we would bring them with us, and we were close by to a university. So we would find these babysitters that would come and like help us out, but we could still work. And then we were in the mountains. So it was an amazing setup, right? And they could just be themselves. They had all their same stuff. So there wasn't, like a big vacation, right? They were just going to another home. So, and again, every time that we would go back after the 8 weeks, we would all be so sad because we just loved it here so much. We loved the mountains. We loved being outdoors. We loved hiking as a family. And we would get back to Florida and just be like, I'm just not a beach person. Like, I don't really enjoy this. And I really was ready to move way before we did. But we had some work commitments that didn't work out until much later. But we ended up moving to Asheville in 2020, right when COVID was in the middle of the, middle of COVID. But it was great because we did a lot of hiking and it was great for everybody. My kids they love it here. They love it here. And my husband too. We all have found something we love. And for me, it was a complete change when it came to my art career because Florida is very different. Being an artist in Florida, I think, is tough, to be honest. But here, even though you would think it's the opposite, right? Because it's like so many artists, like how are you going to stand out? But it just works. The River Arts District in Asheville is such an open community and welcoming community. And they welcomed me with open arms when I came. And I really found my people here and my community. So that's when everything started changing for me to be more focused again on like, what things am I excited about? I really narrowed my focus to being more local and more about my community and more about the things that inspire me about this place, right? So I paint a lot of bears, I paint a lot of animals, etc., that inspire me from being here, the colors, etc. So I just love it.
You did hit the ground running. I mean, you like exploded onto the scene. It was so cool.
Came in like a wrecking ball.
Like a wrecking ball, but in a very, very good way. So now you've got your studio at home that you paint, got your studio in the River Arts District, and then you've got galleries as well.
Yeah.
And do you have galleries that you could just, because I was thinking of when you were saying that you had some bad experiences, I did too. And this was with a gallery that I couldn't just pop in, because it was far away. So I didn't know what was happening or if my work was in the back room somewhere. And I had a similar experience where they just wouldn't send the work back. And I had to threaten a lawsuit as well. But were those galleries, were they far away or could you just go in and go...
No, well, yeah, I had one on the West Coast in Florida that I could go and just grab my work. The rest were not close by. So I really couldn't get it back. And, again, some of them had sold the work. They were just not paying me. And some had to return the work to me. So, it was just, again, you're learning, right? You're saying yes to everything. What I really wish I would have known then is that there is time. I think I always have had this... right? I don't know. Like I always feel like I'm out of time and I'm always kind of in a hurry. And it's not. There is time. There is time for everything. So, in hindsight, maybe I just needed to kind of take a step back and not say yes just because they reached out, right? And do a little bit more research. But again, it's all a learning experience. It's landed me now to a place where I really love the galleries that I work with. I actually have a gallery in Charlotte, which is, 2 hours away from Asheville, Shane Gallery. And I adore that gallery. They're a small gallery physically, but you wouldn't know it because they represent so many amazing artists and they're so supportive. So, that to me, that's a hell yeah, right? Like from the moment she reached out to me, I was like, yes, that's like a dream to me, right? So that's the kind of experience that I want to go for. galleries or spaces where I feel like they want me as much as I want them, right? And it's a hell yes, and it's a mutual respect, and it's not one taking from the other, right? We're just kind of both working together.
I do think we should get some gallery owners on the show. I'm curious what their side is too. I know not one gallery owner is not going to speak for everybody, but I have some questions like, how do you find your artists? Or, it's very strange. I have never applied to a gallery. So when you were
really?
So when you were saying, I said yes to everything. No, I take that back. And I'll share this on my episode. I didn't apply the correct way. I broke all the rules. Things you're not supposed to do, I did. But I kind of resonate with the say yes to everything because people would reach out to me and I was like, oh, yes, of course. But we weren't necessarily a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting.
Yeah, that happens. But I think, it makes you learn, right? And then you're like, okay, this is the type of space I need to be on, right? And there is a gallery, there is different style galleries, right? So not all of them are going to be a good fit for you, right? Another space that was very welcoming to me is the Marquee in Asheville. If you've never been to Asheville and you come, make sure you visit Marquee again, and also the River Arts District. But they were very welcoming to me, and that was a space where I felt I could showcase my work in a way that meshed well with everything else that they had going on, right? And not all spaces are going to be like that, and that's okay. So I think it's figuring it out what works for your art, what works with your personality and your and your goals, right? So yeah, saying yes to everything worked for me at the beginning. Definitely had to get a lot more focused afterwards.
So if you could say anything to your younger little Andreina, what would it be? What would you tell your grumpy, not knowing? What would you give advice to her?
That's making me emotional. That's another thing on me.
We're
cry
going
a lot.
deep, guys.
I cry a lot. Number one, I would say you're not grumpy.
Okay.
You're not grumpy. And number two, I would say you can do anything you set your mind to. And I really do believe that. Maybe it doesn't turn to be what you initially expected, but something amazing will come out of it anyway. I would say just go for it, girl. You got this. And again, you're not grumpy. Take that mask off and don't let anybody else put any more masks on you. I think when you're little, again, family dynamics, etc., we put a lot of masks on ourselves, right? Whether it's for survival mode, right? Or you don't want to get hurt, or you don't want to upset somebody in your family. And I wish I would have taken those masks off earlier because it's been so liberating. I think that's just natural life, right? I wish I know now. I wish I knew then what I know now, but that's not how life works, right? Now I'm approaching 49 and I'm like, wow, like I really know myself and I really like myself as I am. I don't think I have to change anything of myself. If anything, I want to know me better so I can keep celebrating what makes me different. That's one of the things that, in my early days on Instagram, I would never talk about having another job because I thought, well, if people know that I have another job, they're going to think I'm not a real artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they might judge me. And I wouldn't tell galleries that I had another job. And then one day I was like, screw this. That's my superpower. I have another job and I'm proud of it, right? And that's what makes me different. And my accent is what makes me different. And being Latin is what makes me different. And I celebrate all those things now. Whereas before, maybe I would be like, oh, can I try to speak without this accent? Could I try to hide that I'm not, that I don't have another job? And the older you get, the more you realize all of those things is what makes you you. And that's the best thing you can do. The most authentic thing, right? To show up as yourself. And that's when people start really connecting with you. I really think that's true. So yeah, stay true to yourself.
I love that. I love that because I think that makes you more relatable to your followers, to people that are looking at your art. And, your art is a reflection of you, and it is so unique. It is so exuberant and lively and joyful and so not grumpy. I see you in your art so much. So I think that's wonderful. Now, so you've accomplished so many things and you're doing really well. Do you have what's next? Do you have not a goal? I don't goal is, I don't like that word, but do you have something that you're what's on your bucket list, or what are you thinking about now?
This podcast. This is definitely, and it wasn't on my bucket list, right? It's just become, and I don't know, I love the idea of what we're creating. I'm really excited about it. Every time that we have to record an episode or think about new ideas, I get excited. And I think my brain thrives on new and exciting things. So I'm definitely excited about what this is going to become. And again, if it doesn't become much of anything, to me, I've still enjoyed this so much, getting to talk to you and everything, that it's already worth it. I think I just started working with a life coach, and that's a whole other episode again. Yes. And the reason is because my kids have about 2.5 years before they go off to college. And I'm starting to think about, how do I want to go into that new, phase of our lives with my husband, with my kids? Like, how do I want to approach it? And, what changes can I make now to make sure that I make that positive for them and for me, right? I don't want to be one of these women or guys that the kids leave and life is over, right? Or like that. And I know that wouldn't be me, but I really want to support them in the best way possible. And I'm also want to think about how am I going to use that new time, right? That's going to come my way for my next goals, right? I would love to do some art residencies, away, a couple of weeks in a place where all I am doing is painting. And up until now, that hasn't been an option, right? Because my kids are home. But maybe once they're not home, that becomes a possibility. So I'm starting to think about all these things. What's Andreina as an empty nester going to be like? What hobbies is she going to pick up
She's
next?
probably going to get like 2 more jobs and take up ceramics and interior design.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? The opportunities are endless. We're just getting started, folks.
We are just getting started. I'm so excited about this podcast, too, because the more we're talking about stuff, the more questions I have. Like, I feel like we are going to be learning. I'm no expert on anything. I mean, we have experiences to share for sure, but I'm excited to be learning, like talking to gallerists, talking to art curators, talking to other artists. Like we said, we want the trauma, but we want the secrets, like what worked for you. I know. I'm excited.
What makes you feel alive? I love that. And I posted something yesterday. I was working on this painting, and it just makes me feel alive. And I'm like, what things do other people have inside of them that they have no idea? And when they do it, they're like, wow, that makes me feel so alive and so much like myself. So the idea of talking to other people to figure that out is very exciting to me.
Yes, me too. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, your origin. I learned a lot of things, and I appreciate you doing that for everybody.
Oh, thank you, Jacqui.
We'll have some guests, and then I guess it'll be my turn.
Yes, we're flipping it up to you because I have questions.
Oh, gosh.
I'm very curious. You have definitely an interesting, other job as well. So I want to talk to you about that as well as your origin. So I'm very excited to flip the table. Is that how you say it? I always say all the sayings wrong, but
I'm never going to correct you because I like it.
My husband's always like, that does not translate. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Off the subject, but my daughter, she used to call chipmunks chickmunks.
Oh, I love that.
And I never corrected her because it was so cute. I was like, no, they're chickmunks from now on.
From now on, they're chickmunks. I love it. I love it.
All right. Well,
thank you.
Thank you so much. And we will see you in the next episode.
Sounds good. Bye, everybody. If you are loving these behind-the-scenes confessions, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a rating or a review. It helps The Art Confidential reach more listeners and keeps this creative conversation growing.
Follow us on Instagram @The Art Confidential, where you can send us your questions, comments, or future topic requests. We'd love to hear from you. And you can find us personally at By Andreina and at Jacqui Fell for more of our day-to-day creative lives. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.